let's jump straight into it, boys. Headlines: Kevy out last week, so that news dropped. Bit of a shock. Kevy came out and confirmed it, and yesterday morning, I think they have come out and confirmed Maguire. Maguire has been offered and accepted the head coaching role at Brisbane Broncos. John Matrix, to you first. Your reaction to that, man?
Yeah, it's 50-50 call for me, really. Like, the way the Broncos plummeted down the table this year from being grand finalists and, aside from a 20-minute magical Cleary performance last year, they could have won that game. It's a bit harsh when you think that he took them to a grand final and now this year he's been given the sack. But, Rog posted up on our chat that, in the 4 years he's been in charge, they've only made the finals once, albeit a grand final. But, there's high expectations over at the Broncos. Like, if you look at their roster right across the board, they've got superstars. And a team of that caliber shouldn't be out of the 8 any years that you're coaching them. It's a bit harsh because the players are the ones who are on the field. But if you're the coach and you're not able to bring that X factor and that quality out of the team that you have, and he's, like I said, he's got like origin players, he's got like superstars right across the park, then I think Broncos letting him go is probably the best thing for them.
Stace, your thoughts on Kevy?
Yeah, I think it's the right call too. When we did our reviews of the bottom 8 teams, I said that they should sack him right there and then, and everyone's
Yes,
like,
I
"Holy
think
shit!"
they listened. They heard you on the podcast. You're very ruthless, and the board agreed with you.
Yeah, but I was just sort of thinking, like if you look at the last 3 grand finalists, right? So the Rabbitohs made it in 2021, and they started the slide, and things were going downhill. And not long after that, things went downhill not long after that. So rather than sack Demetrio, they tried to give him sort of half a season to figure it out, and it didn't work, and they ended up dropping further down a slippery slope. So they finished second to last this year. And you think about the Eels, they were grand finalists in 2022. They missed the playoffs the following year, and they tried to give Brad Arthur, who's the coach there, they give him half a year to sort it out. It didn't work, and they finished the season off playing in Spoon Bowl. So in both those instances, when things started going wrong, they held on to their coaches a little bit too long. So if you look at the Broncos, I think they were on an eerily similar path. Grand finalists last year, which Bob mentioned, then missing the playoffs this year. And to the Broncos' credit, they've opted for a clean cut, and I do think that's the right call. So if we look at the Broncos season, things were spiraling sort of quite early on throughout the middle part of the season, but they still had a chance of making the top 8. And I'm just looking at on the NRL website, just looking at the last 6 weeks of results, right? So they lost 41-16 to the 40-6. They got pumped at Suncorp from the Dolphins, and then 50-12 smoked from the Storm. So it became obvious that Kevy, he just didn't have the answers to get them out of that bad patch. Things weren't getting better; they were getting worse. So I think, like the Rabbits and the Eels before them, if they carried on down that path, they were heading back down towards the bottom, towards Spoon Bowl again, sort of type of stuff. So make a cut now, get a new coach, give them a full preseason, and no disrespect to Kevy, but I think they got Madge. He's twice the coach Kevy is, so 100%, man, that's the right call at this stage.
Your thoughts on Madge as a premiership coach? I guess he's had the Rabbits a while back now. Is he still the coach for?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think Bob brought up a good point about that roster. That roster's that's a top 8, definitely, potentially top 4 roster. They just need better coaching. And I think Madge is a better coach. He had some time with the Tigers. He would have learnt a lot from that. But you think about what he did with the Kiwis. 30-0 they won. They won that Pacific Nations Cup or whatever it was last year, beating Australia. That's an outstanding result. He won Origin. He takes over Origin. He wins Origin. They were looking at a 3-peat loss. They hadn't won at Suncorp, but decided at Suncorp for 20 whatever years it was. I know we talked about that during the time. It was quite a long period of time, and he was able to reverse that. So I think of the coaches that are available, he's the best coach available. So, yep, I think I'm happy with him, and I think that they will improve under him. Because I talked about those results at the end. I felt like Kevy couldn't turn it around. They were getting worse rather than getting better. So I think Madge can make a difference there.
Your thoughts on I guess Stace mentioned Bobby Madge taking over New South Wales and what he did there. Your thoughts on him taking over a Queensland club, that style with these boys? Does it help the Queenslanders?
Probably if he continues to be the club coach and the Origin coach, then maybe. But I mean, you don't really sort of look too deep into stuff like that when he's coming in off the back of a successful year in Origin. I mean, his last 2 assignments as Origin coach, as Kiwis coach, been pretty successful. So to anyone looking from the outside in, it's a good hire, and Broncos supporters, Broncos governance will probably be super happy that Maguire does come with that sort of pedigree as a coach. He's proven he has won championships with South. And it's a good buy for the Broncos. I feel like he seems to be the type of player that might be able to connect and engage a bit more with those Indigenous boys. And I'm only saying that because of what he's been able to do with the Brown brothers and the Kiwi squad. Like, he's been able to get them to really fire on all
Well, look at all
cylinders.
the tour boys in New South Wales as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know what it is, but Island boys and Indigenous boys,
Down with
like,
the Brown, bro.
yeah, like it really takes a special coach to bring that potential out of those sorts of players. And I think back to like Chris and Inu back in the days when he was like this enigma of a player, and like if you coached him right and you got it right, like he was this amazing player. If you got it wrong, man, he didn't care. Like, I
that's so
remember when
true.
he was at the Warriors and he was playing in reserve grade because the coach at the time just wasn't able to get anything out of him. Like, they weren't able to connect, engage. So, if you're a coach, like a Wayne Bennett, like a Craig Bellamy, and Maguire's done it in the last year and a half. If he's able to connect and engage with those young Indigenous, young island boys and get them to play to their potential with, tempered by maturity. And I look at players like Jerome Hughes at the Storm, that guy's full of talent, X Factor and all of this sort of stuff, similarly to what Reece Walsh is now at the Broncos. And he could have done the whole Reece Walsh thing and just been, look at me, pass me the ball, I'll win every game with every touch. But Bellamy's been able to really temper that X factor, and he's matured in his game, and he's become this outstanding half, come fullback, because he converted from the back to become this really, really good halfback. So it's like, well, Maguire seems to be the coach that is able to bring that sort of temperament out of players. And I don't want to make it a race thing or anything like that. I just think that there are coaches that are able to bring potential out of the Brown brothers, and then others really struggle. So yeah, man, it'll be exciting for the Broncos next year if they're able to click under Maguire. Because like I said earlier, man, that roster is definitely a top 8, if not top 4 roster. And they showed it last year. They just need to be more consistent. And that's probably where Kevy sort of fell over, is that they were just hampered by injuries and then they were inconsistent throughout the whole year.
Stace, you mentioned like just that I guess Maguire is a better, no disrespect to Kevy, but he is a better coach. But what Kevy did bring to that club, kind of the old boys gathered around him, kind of getting those boys to get back to understanding, respecting that Broncos jersey, especially after, that terrible year of getting a wooden spoon the first time ever. I heard Gordon tell us say though that he he won't be turning up to do some kind of encouragement speech for the Broncos. I don't know, like that's the side. I was hoping Sai would be here, for that kind of Broncos and that old boys. Like, is there potential he loses the room from that end of that kind of concept of old boys and that Broncos support there?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, the thing about Kevy, he's such a nice person. He's a good guy, and everyone sort of feels bad for him in that respect. But coaching's about results, and that's where the old boys, they got him behind Kevy because he's one of their own. But you got to look at what those results, those numbers I read out for those last few games.
Yeah.
That's just not going to cut it. And if it was anyone else, you'd probably make a cut. No one would even bat an eyelid. But just because the old boys have quite a powerful voice, you think about someone like Gordy. He's one of the most powerful guys in the media at the moment for in terms of the NRL, and he's got quite a loud voice there. And I know that they're really close. So he was mentioned before that he called Kevy and he went over to his house and caught up with him afterwards. So he's the type of guy who will come out swinging in the media to stick up for his mate. He's that type of person. So whether he's right or not, I'm not sure because those results that's just not good enough. So I hope that one thing that Madge got right with New South Wales is he really connected with a lot of their old boys as well. And he made a point of doing that, trying to get them on side. So I think he at least understands the importance of that. And he will. I'm pretty confident he's going to try and extend an olive branch to them, and I hope they can take it because if you get past your mate's been sacked and you get past he's from New South Wales and all the rest of it, and you look at his coaching credentials, they stack up pretty good. And that roster with elite coaching, the sky's the limit for that team, man. I'm quite confident they can do in the next sort of 2 or 3 seasons. They'll be there or thereabouts again.
Nice.